What's up, guys? We are back with another Super 7 Ultimates ThunderCats review, back with another LJN inspired vintage toy figure. We're taking a look at the other bad guy today. We're taking a look at MONKIAN. Now, of course, just like the rest of this wave, we've got our familiar packaging. So you've got the Mumra logo on the front and our ThunderCats logo on the back of the slipcover. Pop that off, and of course, we've got our very chocolatey brown MONKIAN there in the big window with the ThunderCats logo down there on the bottom. Our LJN white burst in the background, and then on the back of the box, you've got a shot of MONKIAN as well as a bio for this guy. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Ultimates LJN toy variant MONKIAN. This is the one that, as far as the evil mutants go, I feel like this is probably the best one to have started with, because he's really similar. Like, don't get me wrong, he's still really similar to the cartoon in many ways, but he's also different enough in a few big ways. The big one, of course, being the skin tone and the fur and stuff like that, and then, of course, like the colors on the wraps. But the overall idea is very much the same. This is, of course, just a repaint with a new head sculpt, so there's a lot of stuff here that isn't exactly LJN accurate. It is close, and it's more like in the spirit of that. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around. He's still that same MONKIAN figure if you've already got him from wave, whatever that was, wave 4. So he's got a head that can look, well, not really anywhere except side to side because of all the hair and like the mane that he has back here. So that's still a thing. Arms go out at the shoulders. They, of course, will rotate, but they're only going to go so far because of the shoulder hair. You've got your bicep swivel. We've got our single-jointed rotating elbow. We've got our swivel hinge wrists there. Ab crunch is super, super tight on this figure. I'm going to take the helmet off just so I don't lose it. So he goes forwards really good, and then he goes backwards slightly. But the crunch is really nice on him. And then you've got your waist twist there, of course. So no surprises there, really. Legs go out about that far, pretty close to full splits, but not exactly. They kick forward only about this far, and this is just the hindrance of the skirt piece. The right leg, well, your left, will go a little bit further. You've got a little bit back kick as well. There is, of course, a thigh twist up there. We've got our single-jointed rotating knees. They go 70 degrees, maybe, definitely not 90. And then you've got your rocker and hinges down at those ankles. So he's very much the same figure. And one thing that I'll reiterate here that I said with the first MONKIAN is that this was the wave for me in many ways that started to feel better and different with ThunderCats from Super 7. He very much feels exactly the same, which is to say that he feels really nice. Everything is pretty smooth. The only area where I feel any kind of tightness is that ab crunch, which is not a bad thing for me. Everything else is just fine right out of the box. Nothing loose, nothing hindering anything, and certainly nothing that I've felt that I needed to heat up to even get moving. Now, visually, I'm really happy with this figure. There's a lot that is similar between the two, but it's not a one-to-one thing. It's not a perfect recreation like we've seen across the board with these figures, really. And that's because ultimately this is just a repaint with a new head sculpt. But there's a lot about this figure that does very much work. The color scheme and the idea of where these wraps are and their coloring very much gives us the LJN, the style, the inspiration here. So you've got a sort of like a milk chocolatey MONKIAN here as far as that skin tone, and then you've got that super, super blonde fur, which definitely stands out. It pops against itself. And then, of course, he's covered in all of this red and sort of purpley blue color. Now, that's one thing that's truly different about these figures, because this is the animation body. This is the Toon MONKIAN body, and the wraps are a little bit more pronounced, and they're in different places. So you've got the same color, so red and purple are on alternating sides depending on the arms and the legs, but this figure has a lot more wraps, and it's just not figure accurate. The loincloth is also a very different configuration because it's basically just the crotch on this figure. It's not the hugest deal to me. Like, it's still one of those things where I'm interpreting this as LJN inspired, not one-to-one, not like the Turtles line, basically. So when I look at this, it's 100% an LJN MONKIAN. And the more I mess around with this, the more I kind of feel that this, if you wanted to get crazy with Ultimates, because of how the mutants work, you could use this as, say, like a grunt MONKIAN and have a bunch of these behind your MONKIAN and have kind of a little group of them. Whether, anybody's going to do that does sound a bit insane, but it's possible. And then we've got what I think is probably the biggest one-to-one thing on this figure is going to be the head sculpt, because they tried to make this as, as accurate as possible with this. So you do have a removable helmet, and we've got the sort of elongated face with that screaming head sculpt. And then you've got that shock of like blonde hair under there. And something about the blonde and this brown really, really works. Everything pops, and it's just super bright and vibrant. And again, we've got another instance of a fully painted face, and it makes a huge, huge difference on this figure. It just stands out, and it looks really clean, really crisp. The red in those eyes is really piercing. The teeth, the tongue, all of that stuff looks really great. The sculpt on this figure is the same good sculpt that we had with the first MONKIAN, and I'll say it again. This figure feels like it's one of those figures that is sending us in the new direction for ThunderCats, because this wave in particular, where MONKIAN first came out, wave 4 or whatever, it was a really big wave as far as the progression of the line for me. It felt like things were getting better. And this is that same figure again. It feels like a much better figure than a lot of the older figures in the line. So if you've got that first MONKIAN, you really know what to expect here, barring the head sculpt and the color scheme. Now, of course, again, it's not 1-to-1, so there's not a back covered in hair, and it's not sculpted onto the torso, nor do we have Battlematic action or the switch on the back. I'm still, it's okay. It doesn't really bother me. It's one of those things. It's like, yes, it would be cool, but I'd probably do it one time and then never do it again. So again, not a 1-to-1 copy, but very much LJN inspired. And it looks to me, just specifically, that when you take a look at this figure, it's going to scream LJN vintage ThunderCats without being, an exact copy. So I'm really, really happy with this figure. I think he looks great. And again, he has the possibility of maybe being used as a bit of an army builder if you want to get crazy with some mutants. Now, as far as accessories goes, just like the first MONKIAN that we got, but to a lesser degree, we get a small amount of accessories with this figure. Granted, for LJN MONKIAN, there isn't a whole lot he should really have, so it's not the hugest deal. We get some hands to start with. You've got style pose hands on him in the box. We've got gripping hands here. Still would have loved some fists for this guy. And then we get our extra head sculpt. And this one, I think, just with my idea of maybe using this as a grunt MONKIAN, this head sculpt maybe works a little bit better. You've got just standard stoic head sculpt that you can put him in the background. But again, fully painted face, and it looks terrific. And I really like this sort of milk chocolatey skin tone with the blonde hair. It pops against itself, and I'm really happy with that. Again, eyes are really clean and crisp. The teeth that are just peeking out are really clean, really crisp, very bright and vibrant. And then, of course, we get his signature, flail accessory. So you've just got your spiked ball there with a real metal chain. So you can have him whomping some ThunderCats or whatever he's going to do on your shelf. So I'm really happy that we got this. Of course, this is the signature accessory. It's the one thing you should come with. And then I suppose you can maybe count the helmet since it is removable. But he doesn't come with a lot, but it's very much in line with that vintage figure. So yeah, overall, I'm really happy with this particular MONKIAN figure. It's maybe not the one that people are going to gravitate towards the most because, of course, we've got, at least 2 super heavy hitters in this wave. But the MONKIAN figure has been and still remains a really solid Ultimates figure. And I've always been drawn to this vintage figure for some reason. I've always had a handful of them, and for some reason I just liked those colors and that slight difference between the cartoon to the dark hair versus the light hair, and then of course the skin tone. Something about it always stood out to me, and it's been reimagined really well in this Super 7 Ultimates figure. Granted, it's not toy accurate because of course it's just a repaint, but the styling, the spirit of it very much comes through, and I think they did a really solid job of translating that into this figure while giving us some cool new head sculpts and just giving us a different version of MONKIAN for our shelves. So that's going to do it for this look at the Super 7 Ultimates toy variant LJN MONKIAN. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.